there are two things that kind of defined that era for me. One was do it yourself.
Yeah.
It was DIY. You know, it's cheap, it's quick, go and do it.
And you didn't have to be able to play your instrument.
And you didn't have to necessarily have to play anything.
Yeah.
It was all about ideas.
Yeah.
It was all about ideas and being creative, but you know, from that point of view, rather than thinking of a commercial. You know, in fact, we didn't even think of that. That was the last consideration.
Yeah. Because
the kind of market that you were aiming at were very accessible to all sorts of things. So you didn't have to think this has got to fit. This has got to be played on Radio 1. That was the last thing you thought of. Yeah. You knew that
would
who would play
it really.
Yeah. And you had a network of shops, indie shops, that Rough Trade would sell to. So basically, we just turned up at Rough Trade with another 1,000, and they would just take the lot. It was effortless.
Right.
But it meant that you could, you could more or less try anything.
Yeah.
And it worked. So there was the DIY aspect, and also the, the fact that it was kids who were sort of didn't have a stamp. They weren't into any particular scene.
Yeah.
That they weren't mods or they weren't soul. They were just open for anything, you know.
Yeah.
What defined it for me was high energy and spitting.
Because I think this was a complete shock for the sort of pre-punk American bands, wasn't it, when they came over?
I remember Blondie was definitely put out.
Yeah.
People like Johnny Thunders. I think they were sort of expecting, we'll kind of get up there and everyone's going to and the fact they walked on stage and started spitting at them.
Was just like
they just didn't get
clap.
it at all.
Because I remember standing on stage one time they were clapping and I was snarling at them, we don't need your clap.
You know, the majors had no idea what was going on. I mean, they panicked in 1978, 79, started signing people because we must have a
randomly almost,
and they decided it was peculiar people.
They were going to miss out on a whole era, really, if they didn't do that, weren't they?
Yeah. And then, of course, they tamed it in the end. They did tame it, as they always tend to, and then you got the New Romantics, and they all got repackaged, and it all became a bit more safer. We used to go to Gooseberry in Chinatown in London, where was a kind of reggae studio, but I recorded Clive there.
God, talk about recording Clive. I did a terrible thing with Clive once. I lived up the road in Beaconsfield Road. It's like a cultural ghetto at the time.
I remember that big place.
It's amazing. Yeah. So he came around this intensive 2 days, and we were recording guitar, and then recording other guitar, and recording vocals, recording backing vocals. I've got this tape, and the next day I sent him off with this reel-to-reel tape to take up to wherever it was. And he got there, went into his appointment with the A&R guy, and it wouldn't play on their system. And it was awful. I just felt absolutely dreadful, because I didn't know, he didn't know. It wasn't ever going to happen, and it took all that time and energy and effort into that 2 days.
And that was Clive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I never heard that.
You talked to. I bet he remembers it, because it was really.
Yeah. Was that pre doing the record? Though? It must have been pre us doing.
It was around Happy Birthday Sweet 16 time.
Right.
It was that time, because I think that was one of the tracks.
Because we did get we got some interest in majors when that came out, because it went onto Capitol's playlist.
Right.
I remember getting it played on Capitol of all places, and one of the companies that were very interested was a company called Pinnacle, who made some money out of various glam rock type bands, and we did a session for them. We recorded 4 tracks in their studios. They're really nice tracks. They'll be on iTunes soon. I'm putting them all up there. And he was so prolific. That's the other thing about Clive. He had songs coming out of his ears.
Yeah.
When I've got hundreds of recorded songs that we did. We did whole sessions at Quest in Luton, where we would just we would just record 30 songs. You know.
Yeah.
I got one session we did there, and we even did a Christmas single. He sang Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I remember that.
We were going to put that out as a single, but we didn't do it. But
sorry.
No, I was going to. I mean, you did put out quite a lot. Probably compared to other labels around. I mean,
we got up to 20. The numbering system went up to 21. It was only ever a hobby, and it was costing me money. We didn't make a profit ever, so it was costing me money. So I had to draw a line here and there, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd never made money out of gigging. I mean, they never made money. I mean, the bands only ever made enough to cover petrol or something to eat, you know. So it was never not like I don't know what we went out for. I don't think it was very much.
I think you got
20
100 quid.
100?
Yeah, I remember getting 100 quid.
Well, I remember we did the City Hall, as it was then, and I did a Waldos night out. And at the end of the night, the money that was due, and there was a lot of people there, it was voted, you know, the year's best gig in the Hearts ad and everything. And I remember the people in charge went round and checked the damage to the dressing rooms, and for some reason the safety curtain, which was lowered at one point, and got battered,
Right.
and decided that the cost of repairs exceeded what we were going to get paid, so nobody got paid that night.
I think that's the reason why the Clash tour was pulled. That was their reason, that was their excuse to pull the Clash tour. Because do you remember that Clash tour that got... Because we were really disappointed about that, because we were on it with the Clash, the Slits, the Adverts, I think.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Somebody else, and right down at the very bottom of the food chain, we were there.
Right.
We were there because one Sunday afternoon, on rainy Sunday afternoon, I can remember this, we said, we need a new manager. Why don't we get Bernard Rhodes, who was the Clash's manager? We were like, how do we do it? And I was like, let's look him up in the phone book. And he put us on, we played him the tape, which I don't think he was terribly impressed with actually, but he put us on the tour anyway. Now whether he knew that tour was going to be pulled, I don't know. Everyone says I'm too modest for my own bits, but anyway, he put us on the Clash tour, and then a few weeks we were like, oh my God, now we can give up our day jobs, and it was pulled.